Hello, everyone. Happy to be here on Biopharma Conclave platform. And this is the third year. I think I'm here always to share some perspectives from the commercial side. So I started off with marketing, and then the second year it was on commercial excellence, and then digital excellence this year. So first of all, thanks a lot to Informa Markets for creating this platform. And I'm really happy to be here. Let me get on with the presentation. And as you are aware, it's Biopharma Digital Excellence. I'll try to share all that which is so very important now in the altered world of ours, unfortunately due to the pandemic. Yes, digital was always important for society, for businesses, but during the pandemic, we have seen what kind of a critical role it has been playing and what kind of a critical role that it is playing and will continue to play as we move forward in businesses. And we have seen that in pharma industry, biopharma, quite a lot. So if you just move forward, first the disclaimer, the views expressed are that of me as an individual professional and doesn't necessarily represent that of my organization. And first of all, a big thank you to every single COVID warrior who has been fighting this war for us on the forefronts. The world, we all can't be more grateful to them. Really a big thank you to each one of them. I will look at biopharma digital excellence through four lenses: the opportunity, the environment, the strategy, and then the excellence. And it's very important to reach the excellence only once we have addressed the other three aspects. First, the opportunity. And when I look at opportunity in life sciences, biopharma, pharma, medtech, health tech, all these related domains, I'm tempted to share here with you, all of you, what I wrote May 2019, good 6-7 months before the pandemic. Quoting WHO, it was on WHO site, the threat ahead is so large that if it is not taken care of, it can wipe out substantial part of our progresses and gains on all fronts. The task ahead is so enormous that the international agencies and the governments cannot handle on their own. And hence, the onus is on all stakeholders in the system. This is what WHO said 6, 7, 8 months, 9 months. I mean, possibly much more than that. I picked it up in one of my articles 6, 7, 8 months before the pandemic. Unfortunately, all that came true by January 2020. COVID-19 struck our world, and we have been helplessly watching all the progresses that we have made on so many fronts getting wiped away. We have been helplessly watching the lives and livelihoods still getting wiped away. So healthcare is really something which always needed all stakeholders to pitch in. It's not just one agency or few governments or all governments. It's about everybody, be it pharma, and of course, pharma, biopharma, medtech, health tech, healthcare providers. We have a huge responsibility here. And hence, I would say, one of the favorite quote of mine, which I have been using for 10 years now, healthcare is first a responsibility, only then an opportunity. You can't be in life sciences purely from opportunity perspective. You have to have that sense of responsibility here. And that's very, very critical, and which I'm talking about everybody, be it the big leaders out there, the corporate leaders, be it that the frontline person out there in the field, anybody who is related to life sciences, pharma, biopharma, medtech, health tech, healthcare, I mean, will have to have this sense of responsibility first. And of course, the opportunity is there, which we will look at. If we look at the biotech, biopharma, health opportunities which are there, we have been seeing that as compared to our traditional, not traditional, I would say, the prescription drugs, vis-a-vis, if you look at the biopharma portfolio, continuously it has been increasing, and actually the gap is getting bridged. And more you see, if you look at top 10 brands, if you look at top 10 companies, you increasingly see, so huge opportunities are there, and it will continue to be so, more so now in the changed world of ours. If you look at therapy areas, these bubbles have been getting only bigger and bigger. You talk about oncology, you talk about immunology, you talk about antiviral or any other such area where biopharma is playing a big role, those are only becoming bigger and bigger. Of course, biosimilars, personalized medicine, there are so many ways that so many opportunities are coming to all those who are operating in this domain. Next gen therapies, exceptional opportunities there. You talk about adaptive cell transfer, monoclonal antibody, gene therapy, cancer vaccines. So in many ways, the next generation of therapies are also throwing up enormous opportunities for us. I will look at digital transformation in itself as a big opportunity. And how does this opportunity play out? Through innovation, right? Of course, the new products and services, that's what is the mainstay of our domain, our industry. Engaging with the end consumer, the patients, the primary customers, the physicians, the healthcare provider, the healthcare agencies. So again, digital is a given. And then it comes to the execution, be it our marketing excellence, be it our sales force effectiveness, be it how we run our organization overall. If everybody is for that end consumer, the end customer, that if somebody is from finance or somebody is from supply chain, the end goal is the same. So if that execution has to be efficient, well coordinated, well collaborated, then digital transformation is the way. If you look at the imperatives, right from research and development, of course, to commercial, to manufacturing, to supply chain, you cannot take any area where digital has already not entered. And those who are taking advantage of it are really reaping the benefits and creating value more than the benefit. I would say they are able to do tremendous good work as far as healthcare is concerned. So on one hand, it is AI, artificial intelligence enabled drug discovery, synthetic biology, virtual trials, synthetic control arms. Could anybody even imagine such a scenario? But those possibilities are there, and even regulators are looking at it with acceptance. Digital therapeutics, virtual reality patient engagement, value-based contracting, and of course, 3D printing is something which is throwing up its own opportunities our way. Transformative technologies, I've already mentioned about artificial intelligence. What is hidden here is blockchain, Internet of medical things, do-it-yourself diagnostics, software as a medical device. We are already having some approvals as a prescription, and that trend is only going to become, of course, the future of mobility when it comes to access to healthcare, when it comes to access to medicine, and in many ways, these transformative technologies are playing a big role. Big tech in healthcare. For quite some time now, we have seen Alphabets and Amazons and Apples and Microsofts coming in. So how we look at them? Should, as an industry, look at them as new set of competitors? No. I would say They are the new set of contributors. I have just shared some time back. This healthcare and health is such an enormous collective responsibility of the entire world, that more are coming in, more resourceful companies and people are coming in. They all should be welcome. And the companies which I am sharing here, they are some of the most innovative companies that we have known. All that innovation coming into healthcare should only be taken as a welcome and not as a new set of competitors. They should inspire us to adopt technologies to really keep delivering our very best healthcare solutions. Now let's move into the environment. So what is happening in the environment if you see? Telemedicine, video-enabled tools. I mean, if you have to go and look at even in the smaller geographies, even not so developed geographies, I would say, these are becoming norms now. And through the pandemic, all that acceleration has happened, and we are seeing it happening more and more. It's a truly phygital world. And there is a clear shift towards the virtual interactions, and even preference also, which you will say. It has been shown in this research that the physicians, they are preferring virtual webinars. Even when normalization will happen, then also. And what is the advantage here? Can you just take a pause for a moment and think about it? You see, one can attend, of course, from the comfort of wherever they are, even while traveling. And if they are not able to attend that, then they have the recording which they can go to. So you imagine, and leave aside the financial savings that it has. So virtual is being preferred in this hybrid, and we keep on talking about hybrid. Hybrid indeed is a reality, and I only say hope when things normalize, as they are, touch wood, we should not go back to our old ways. Let it be hybrid because it really makes sense. Access restrictions will continue. It was always there in our industry for our people. And those access restrictions are clearly that you create a mix. There is no more only face-to-face meetings. Make it a mix. And it's face-to-face plus virtual, it works the best. Only virtual, only face-to-face is not going to work. So if we get some such discussions when it happens and somebody says that reps will not be there, I don't agree. I believe that you will still require your frontline field force, because that's what is also valued by the physicians. You know, the email sent by your medical rep is opened at double the rate as that of sent by the organization. So that value will remain. There will be a mix. There can be just one visit. Rest all can be over phone, over web, but then hybrid is definitely going to be there to take care of this access restriction. Science gains, that's a tremendous news. And I think we all cannot be more thankful to science, because science has stepped forward and saving the world at this point in time. We see that reflection in physicians. When they were asked, their preference is for all those scientific materials, the evidences. As an industry, somehow we have for a very long time specialized in creating different kind of pens and tabletops and all. I mean, this is an opportunity to come out of that completely and stay focused on the science. Thanks to technology, the patients are in control, and rightly so. Look at it, makes tremendous sense. Of course, it creates certain opportunities for us. It creates certain responsibilities for us. It has to be done in, those regulations, which are very essential. It has to be done by respecting the data integrity. But then this reality is there, and we need to be absolutely accepting of that. With this, let's come to the strategy. And on the strategy, the first thing I would say, digital is not a substitute for a strategy. Let's do digital. No, I mean, a strategy has to be in place because that's where you decide what to play, where to play, when to play, and how to win. So that will remain the driver navigator. Where does digital come? Digital will help us in delivering to the customer what, when, where, and how they want. And hence, we have an enabler and connector. And why we should be digital? Because our customers, whether it is the end customers or the primary customers, both are out there on the virtual world. How can you be absent? So while we need a robust strategy, like we have always done, work out that strategy, be it the brand, be it business units, be it the larger organization, that strategy has to be in place. But then if really you have to take that strategy forward, digital is the way. So what are we marketing? Are you marketing just a brand? No, I mean, that era is over. We need to be marketing a solution. And when it comes to solution, what it means, it's not just the product that we have, but the services, the information, the knowledge. And we should always be prepared with that entire solution. And that is what we should be marketing. And for, truly being digital, achieving digital excellence, understanding the disease life cycle is very, very critical. The pain points in the patient journey. So digital life cycle, patient journey, these two, whichever therapy area that you have decided to enter, whichever product you are going to bring in, it's very fundamental that you look at these first before moving forward. And once you will do that, automatically the patient-centered values will come much before you formulate your strategy. The empathy, compassion, and trust. And how can you not be empathetic if you are in this domain? How can you not have compassion if you are in this domain? And of course, the trust is also very, very important, which can be built over time. How we really engage, how we provide the experience, how we respect the privacy, what kind of integrity with which we are working with. So the patient-centered leadership then will work to translate patient priorities into specific deliverables. That's the starting point. And then there will be a compelling patient engagement and advocacy vision. So if we look at strategic cascade of questions, of course, the purpose and vision is there right on top. But what will be our contribution to the society? That sense of purpose. And then what we will have achieved by when. But added to that, I've just mentioned here in the strategy, what gives us the right to win? What value are we delivering? What unique value are we delivering? What new value are we delivering in the therapy area or the disease area that we're entering? And the real outcome, the real value is the disease and health outcome, from where you can clearly see the awareness, assistance, availability, adherence, advocacy. So, this is what we are supposed to deliver as value. If outcome is the value that we need to deliver, we need to step in and really, really contribute in all these steps that I have just mentioned below. Then our go-to market will not be just about promotion of the product. It will be about forging partnership in the entire healthcare ecosystem with the healthcare providers, with the physician themselves, even the patients, right from the research to delivery to eventually taking care of the disease as it progresses or it gets managed. So, it's a sort of that partnership mindset, and of course, internal partnership within the organization, among all the players within the industry, that's a given. But it needs to move to the participation level when you talk about. So when I'm entering a therapy area in the health, as we have seen, health is something which needs everybody's contribution. Am I just selling my product here? Can I do something by which overall healthcare is getting impacted? Can we join hands with the agencies in whatever therapy area that we can, whichever way we can, And that's what, in my opinion, the go-to-market. The commercial model then will not be just sales and marketing. Then key account management and market access will be a very, very critical piece in the same. So if I just look at commercialization, so typically research, analysis, generating insights, then science, outcome, then you have the evidence, and then segmentation, targeting, messaging, the tools are there, then you connect, engage, and measure, isn't it? I mean, this is a typical that we go, and that's what is strategy formulation and tactical translation. And once that's in place, then successful business and valued brands are there. So will there be a digital strategy? So there will be a larger strategy. Within that, there need to be a digital strategy as well. But still, digital is not a substitute for strategy. So digital strategy, when you look at, so truly customer in focus model, which I've already shared, always on agility, that is something that, agile way of working is something that is seen in the research labs, that is seen in software development. And of course, it is getting adopted within the organization quite a lot. That definitely can do a world of good to efficiency, innovation. I mean, the response to the end consumer, all that can go, adaptability, all that can go up tremendously. Fully connected community. It's our responsibility to stay connected to that larger community in that therapy area or disease area or healthcare system, and also help create that community, create those connections. Intelligent optimization, of course, data, the intelligent workflow, human machine, decision making, predictive, holistic, insight driven, of course, advanced analytics, big data, and all that are already playing a very, very big role in many, many ways. You talk about R&D, you talk about manufacturing, you talk about commercial in many, many ways. And of course, flexible, virtual, unbounded workforce and workplace where, your last person out there in the field has all the resources at their command and fully empowered to do things. It's not just about once in a quarter or once in 6 months, you send them some tools. No, the tools are available in the eVaults and many, many ways. And that person is able to customize and, is really skilled at that level. So that kind of a workflow and workplace should be there. Now, when you look at really a strategic journey in the digital, which many organizations have already are traveling. So, at the very tactical level, it is, you have patient support initiatives, you have telehealth, education, health apps, and so on and so forth. But really at the higher level, you move to digital therapeutics, you move to digital therapy, you move to condition management solutions, and they by themselves are a product. So they are not an addendum to the product. They by themselves are the product, and that's the digital excellence that is very much possible. With this, I come to the excellence part now. But before we go into digital excellence, commercial excellence, again, is where, from where the digital excellence need to flow. So from customer insights to customer experience and everything in between, commercial excellence is the critical organizational function for optimizing opportunities and resources, thus facilitating a sustainable achievement and profitable growth. As a professional in commercial excellence for almost 14, 15, I was one of the pioneers, I can say so very proudly in India. So this is the definition that I have created, and it covers, and I'm not exaggerating what I have mentioned here. So if you look at commercial excellence is like the pivot, efficient and effective pivot around which the businesses run, around which the new businesses can be built. So on one hand, it coordinates with the support corporate functions. On other hand, it collaborates with the support functions. So corporate function on one hand, support functions on the other hand, and right with the pivot as in the middle, acting like a bridge between the businesses on all these functions also. So that commercial excellence is something, once it is put in place, trust me, it creates that one organization, one system, one processes, but it creates that kind of a flexibility also by which each part is operating with their own way of innovation as per the markets that they're operating on. But it's really, really a good pivot to create in any organization. So with this, let me come to digital excellence finally. So digital excellence, first of all, the philosophy. What is the digital excellence philosophy? It is empowerment, experience, and engagement. We keep on hearing customer experience, we keep on hearing customer engagement, but it's the empowerment which is the starting point, where every end consumer is empowered. Every person who is supporting that end consumer is also empowered to serve that end consumer. Be it the primary physician, be it the end consumer. And it's a true sense of empowerment where the information is available with them, the decision making has been transferred to them. That's that kind of empowerment. And of course, you create those tools by which they really, really have good experience while engaging with you. And of course, engagement is where it is the most important. And it creates its own momentum. It adds to the solution that you have already created. It adds to the health, the product that you have already created, the brand you have already offered, the business that you are already offered. So digital excellence value then in that case will be knowledge, information, and connect. Knowledge, we need to step up on knowledge a lot. Of course, ours is a knowledge industry. Information, we need to step up much, much more. We need to share absolutely transparently both aspects. The most favorable, not so favorable also need to be out there and shared honestly. That kind of a value. And connect is our responsibility, that we connect with everybody in the system. It's our responsibility to create those connections also. So if I look at digital excellence through different steps I have taken. So what are the first few things that we do? Know our product, know your customer, know your market. So benefit ladder, what are the emotional and functional benefits are there? Knowing how is the attitude and belief, what are the alternatives, who are the players, and that's where how digital is helping, big data, social listening, predictive analytics, marketing research. Social listening is one skill that all marketeers, all business leaders must have. A lot is getting talked. A lot is getting talked out there on the web. You must listen to that. And marketing research, the traditional doesn't go away. So there are certain traditional ways of marketing research. It's not going away. But something additional is there. Of course, in marketing research also, digital is making a huge difference. Then define the opportunity, detail the journey, decide the positioning. So what is my growth source and leverage points? What are my drivers and barriers? What is helping? What is hindering? And then differentiation, where I am in relation to my competition, where I am occupying this mind space for my primary customer as well as the end consumer, and how digital is helping. Funnel analysis, market research, advanced analytics, perceptual mapping. Of course, as I always said, the basics are always there. Few things which have already been doing, those have been augmented further with the help of digital. Then you prioritize the influencers. Advocacy has always been important for us. Prime the market. So if you are going to come with something, of course, you need to start working on that much before it hits the market. Prepare the sales team. You see, their importance, this front line is not going to go away. We should not have that thought also. The position can be reinvented, the reskilling can be done, but we will need that front line. And what can be helpful? WeChats, KOL, we need to move from KOL to DOL, which I am saying is digital opinion leaders. Isn't it? There are some who are more savvy. And let's also help KOLs become DOLs. All of them may not be as savvy, so help them, because that's where their end consumer, the patients are. Mail feeds, e-learning, gamification. Of course, when it comes to training, when it comes to really learning solutions, gamification can play a big role. Availability. So alert the channel, align launch team, activate communication. So once again, e-notes are there, v-huddles are there, web feeds are there, social media is there. There's so many things, so many tools are there at our disposal, and it's getting used. When I'm trying to talk, I'm not saying that it's not getting done. It is getting done. It was getting done even before pandemic. In pandemic, of course, it got acceleration. But my only, once again, urge upon everybody that please don't go back to old ways. These new ways make a lot of sense. Stick to them. Then go omni-channel. So be it the content, be it launch to the physicians, so device and channel agnostic content that you create, whether I am looking at it, the physician is looking at it in their cell phone or iPad or laptop, it should be one message, one view of the message, then face-to-face launch, and wherever that is feasible, then HO and MR emails, as I said to the physician, MR emails are highly, highly valuable. Trust me. So a person, it's, the psychology is like this. A person meets me. I know that person, even if that person is coming to me once a month. So I'm likely to have the tendency to open the mail a little more from that person rather than, something nameless. And it has been proven through research that it's double the rate of mail opening as compared to the organization if a rep is sending the mail. Of course, augmented reality, virtual reality, launch webinars. I mean, all those technologies are there at our command. All those technologies had actually become better in this pandemic, and we should take full advantage of that. Then, of course, the engagement ongoing on demand. So info, e-community, access, e-tools, all that is there. If you create all that, the both the levels of our customers, be it physicians, be it the end customer, the patients, they have this convenience which they are already enjoying in many, many areas of their life. So why not in medicine? Why not in healthcare? Of course, the apps, the microsite, the info chatbots are there. And we have seen that apps are getting approved as by the regulators as a prescription in some countries, and that trend will continue. So even if it is not getting prescribed, then also from your side, definitely you should be making an effort. Of course, microsite can be a starting point if you want to start small, and info chatbots. Everybody likes to interact a bit. My questions I'm sending and I'm getting my answers real time. So I mean, all those can definitely be adding to the digital excellence that I'm talking about. Of course, social media, we all ourselves are so much into it. We are deriving so much out of it. So when it comes to awareness and education, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, a lot is already happening. A lot can happen further. We can utilize it to the very best to improve healthcare, to improve access to healthcare, to improve outcomes, to understand the patterns. In many, many ways, it is helping. And of course, it has to be real time and closed loop. So not only that what you are providing out there, but also what is coming back to you. It's the beauty of digital is that you know what is happening, and then you are able to respond to that in real time. I mean, that's what the closed loop, and that's where artificial intelligence, machine learning, advanced analytics, predictive analytics, big data is helping us do. And good number of good tools are available. A lot of work has happened, not only just big ones, but even many, many small startups are there who are doing tremendous job. You just have to keep your eyes open. You inquire about it, you will have enough and more to use and move forward. So digital marketing excellence, when you have all touch points, you are able to provide content that is both up to date and appropriate for multiple channels. And as I mentioned, that you also capture the feed back to you real time to respond to it as fast as possible. Sales excellence, then, as I have been mentioning, it's a very critical position that we have in our industry, and it's going to be there. And of course, it's getting reinvented, reskilled, but then it's needed. They need to be operating from a partner outlook. They need to be. It's not just about going and detailing the product and so on and so forth. It's about what can I do more to add to that particular therapy area. What physician can be helpful to the physician in taking care of his patients and eventually improving the outcomes. So, of course, being digital savvy is a given, because virtual engagement, personalized experience, all that, that's very, very critical. And, time and again, I'm saying that that our even frontline should be getting into the patient space, that but our frontline should also be prepared to understand that that space is not for selling. That space is to serve. So if you are getting that space, please always remember that data is sacrosanct. Data privacy is very, very important. There are certain regulations which we all must adhere to. So don't talk about brand. It's about providing the service, providing the knowledge, providing that assistance, improving adherence, improving compliance, and not selling your product there. Please, if you are not able to do that, please don't get into that space. Then you just keep on promoting. But that's not the tomorrow that we are looking at. One has to get involved right from the organization to the last person out there in the field in taking care of the patients. And that's the reality. And that's where digital excellence will be very, very helpful. So if I look at, digital excellence, I look at, values excellence. Value has always been my framework that, with the foundation of values, with all-round excellence, you deliver value, you deliver new value, you add value. And that's where you would see healthcare mindset, empathy and compassion, high integrity is very, very important as far as values are concerned. Then, of course, digital savviness, omni-channel, profile customization, partnership, value championship, social connect is the excellence way. And then that's how you deliver the value, solution, knowledge, information, service, outcome, and real-time response. So these are the value that you create and deliver. But of course, the starting point has to be values, and you, with the help of excellence, you move forward. So that's kind of sum up that I did on the digital excellence. And since my talk more often than not ends on value, and Einstein, the great Albert Einstein, said, strive not to be a success, rather to be of value. So add value, create value, co-create value. But always remember, the value you add comes from the values you hold. Please take care of yourself and stay well. It was great talking to all of you. Feel free to connect with me. Thanks a lot once again to Informa Market. Thanks to each one of you for watching and listening to me. Please take care and stay well. Thank you.